guys. How you doing?
Pretty good.
DC? Good times?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, I had a question. I thought long and hard, and I came down to a simple question. This tour's all about the bug, past and now, and I just wanted to ask you what the fans mean to you.
Without the fans, we wouldn't be here.
It's kind of a complicated, there's so many kinds of fans.
Which fan in particular?
The box fan. No.
The ceiling fan.
The fans, I guess, you like. I mean, I know it's kind of a hard question, but...
Oscillating fans.
Oscillating.
No, I'm not a fan of oscillating fans.
Well, they're kind of everything, really, if you think about it.
Right.
If you don't have people who are listening to your music, then you're kind of lost.
Well, I'm a pretty big fan, and
Thank
I know
you.
how much your guys' music means to me.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm trying to extrapolate
Right.
out to, what it means to you on a personal level. But
Well, I know that, being a fan of all kinds of music myself, I know that's important. So, I think we all consider ourselves fans of music. So,
Yeah.
great.
I met Dave Chappelle the other day. It was quite exciting.
So you're a big fan of Dave Chappelle?
Yeah.
Just coming back.
Yes.
He looks ready. He's pumped up.
He's a fan of Dino.
I don't think he's ever heard.
No.
Surely. Thank you, guys.
you're welcome.
I appreciate this opportunity.
Howdy.
Right.
I had a pretty specific question actually about Bug that I asked in my video, and I kind of expanded a little bit, but it had to do with the post, and I've thought about this for years. The lyrics in the post are "She's my post to lean on," and I just cut her down. And Hank Williams has a song, which is "Man needs a woman that he can lean on." But my lean, I can't do it. Can't do that high thing. I could on video, but yeah. But my lean-in post is done left and gone. And I thought it was kind of a neat comparison. I didn't know if there was any correlation to that, but to expand on that, I was wondering, do those, obviously, being fans of music, those kind of things go into the music that you play, but is there any music that stands out the most, especially when you guys were doing Bug, that kind of really was your biggest influence at that time? Or that you just hear in your head and kind of things would flow out? Or was it all you?
No, we had a lot of, influences, and you never know what you're writing is a rip off of something else you've heard, or if it's something you made up. I guess you find out later.
Did you know about the Hank Williams thing?
Probably I've heard a lot of Hank Williams,
Yeah.
but not like, it wasn't in the front of my
It
mind.
wasn't like a reference to it or anything.
No,
Lean-in post and
more an unconscious rip
post.
off.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I'm glad to get an answer.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I got a kind of elaborate one, I guess. And we know that tensions weren't so good leading up to Bug. So I think it's in the Azarad book, Lou mentions that he just wasn't into donating any of his material for Bug. Now that you look back on things, Lou, and even Jay and Murph, are there any songs from maybe the first couple Sebadoh records that you may have thought about could have been on Bug if things were better in the band?
Well, Jay, when we did Bug, Jay lived in New York, and we were not getting along at all. And when we did You're Living All Over Me, we were getting along really well, and I was kind of my first attempts at songwriting, and I was extremely self-conscious. So but because we had sort of an open atmosphere in the band, I was able to do that. For Bug, I just really thought, I didn't think I had anything good enough, which might sound ridiculous now, but I really believed that.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had songs that were good enough to be next to Jay's songs at that particular period. I saw Jay as being becoming more and more powerful and becoming scarier You know, like he was just this really scary specter, and I just really didn't want him to ever talk to me because he didn't have anything good to say to me.
Oh no, I totally
It was
understand.
this really, I mean, I was like, but looking back, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of things. I mean, we could have, you know, Dinosaur could have done an incredible version of like Brand New Love or something. You
Yeah.
know? And we could have done that had I the confidence to bring it forward and say, you know, here's a 3-chord song.
Right. Maybe even make it a double album or something.
Yeah, we could have. I'm sure we could have. I mean, obviously, you know.
Well, we were strained for enough material to make
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah. Like with Lose, like I worked that song real long and hard until I thought it was worthy of teaching Jay and Murph, and Jay really helped me with that song. He really came in and helped me with it.
Yeah.
And I made like 4 or 5 parts to that song because I was like, I gotta make a song with a bunch of parts, because that's what Jay was doing.
Right.
Jay was writing these epic songs that just had all these parts in it. So I really locked down and tried to make this, you know, like my own little epic song, and I was able to bring it to Jay and Murph with a, you know, relative like amount of confidence, and we kind of blew it into something that was, you know, pretty cool, and I thought it like stood up on the record. But I guess when Bug came around, like I said, Jay was in New York, and
Yeah.
I was just scared of him, so that was it.
Okay, keep
All
rolling.
right,
Don't
let's
cut. Change up. Keep
Let's
rolling.
get 3 new guys in here.
Awesome.
All right. Oh boy.
Hey, my name is Matt, and question I got is, who were some like local bands that kind of sonically inspired you, or if you want to go a band you hated and then you really wanted to stick it to, one or the other.
I mean, in high school, I liked this band, Blanny, who were like older high school guys, and they did mostly Sabbath and some Skinnerd, and they did God Save the Queen. And
Did they ever put out a single or anything?
I don't think so.
It's gonna be hard to track down.
Yeah, I don't think they had any recordings, but yeah, they had a couple original songs that were just notes away from Sabbath songs.
Cool. You guys?
Well, a lot of it for me was just like the punk rock shows that were going on. This place, the Greenfield Grange, I was always really inspired from a lot of the Boston bands that came down. And then I was actually like a real Deep Wound groupie. Like I used to go like to see Jay play drums and practice and see these guys rehearse, and that really kind of turned me on to a lot of hardcore. We had this friend like Charlie, and Jay and Charlie were always like coming every week with like new, you know, like new Oi and punk singles and stuff. So we would go like to Charlie's and like listen to different stuff, and I got turned on to a lot of stuff that way, and that kind of inspired me. Just kind of a combination of all that stuff.
I saw this band called Mace in my high school my high school cafeteria, and this kid that I sat at lunch with, it was his brother's band, and they did Motorhead covers, and they had one original called Push Button Warfare that was pretty good.
Is that an Outpatient song?
Yeah, they became the Outpatients. Like Mace became the Outpatients. The bass player left, and the kid who was playing with me and Jay, playing bass, Scott Helen, he became the bass player of Mace, and they became like more of a punk rock band. They became this band called the Outpatients, and they were the best band of our scene. You know, they were the tightest and the most powerful, and it's like 2 brothers in the band, and this kind of really powerful redheaded drummer, and I don't know why him being redheaded makes anything, but somehow visually that made some kind of sense. But they were from my hometown, Westfield, but just, you know, seeing a band do Motorhead covers when nobody cared about Motorhead in my high school, and to see that happen, that was pretty intense, you know. And then like Murph said, it was just, we had a lot of, then, you know, like the kids from Westfield and the kids from Amherst and the kids from Northampton all started getting together and having them, you know, putting together punk rock shows, hardcore shows, and those shows were great because we had a real scope of bands. There was like kind of new wave bands, you know, that were like of older guys, like maybe older being 23, 24, and then there were like kids like us, like Deep Wound, who were kind of the youngest band, and one of the younger bands, and playing really fast Minor Threat influenced, Discharge influence, and as well like hardcore. So we had kind of a cool little scene for a while.
Awesome. If I may ask a quick follow-up from the Deep Wound to Dinosaur shift. I mean, it's pretty stark. I mean, was there any like sort of moment or something where you're kind of like, I'm done with this and I'm into, like how did you find, I guess, your archetypal dinosaur sound?
I don't know, the first album we were just grasping at different things. We didn't really have a sound yet. So I guess we kind of got it together by You're Living All Over Me, kind of more of a sound.
Cool.
But it just seemed like hardcore was dead one day. I don't know why.
Just,
But Negative Approach broke up, Minor Threat broke up. They all did other things.
the Boston bands went metal, like they turned into these awful metal bands, like SSD and
Corrosion of Conformity. I
well,
remember.
they were like kind of on the good side of that, but like the Boston bands in particular
TYS.
just made terrible metal bands, and it was like, what are you doing? And at the time, we actually like even stuff like, we were listening to REM, and I heard like the Violent Femmes, like that stuff made a difference to me, and so on the lighter side of music started to make more sense, and Jay just kind of, in my opinion, like sort of, like he said, the first record we just were throwing all this stuff, he kind of threw all this stuff against the wall, like songwriting wise, but it was really drawing upon like quieter stuff and country music and post-punk kind of music, like Killing Joke and Joy Division, and then even drawing upon REM. And there was a band in Boston called the Neats who were like kind of amazing. They were like a really influential band for us, I think. They were really great, really open strum, kind of REM sounding band, but they were a little bit more 60s, a little more garage version of REM that we really liked. And there was just we were listening to so much stuff, so many different kinds of things, and hardcore was very, it was like you listened to hardcore and that was it. Like for you, for that year or so that hardcore kind of descended on my life and our lives, it became like the focal thing, and like everything else was terrible. But then you sort of go, well, that doesn't make any sense,
And plus, after Deep Wound, like Jay, he had been playing drums, decided to play guitar, and they recruited me, and I was kind of just starting out. So on the first record, Jay was kind of getting used to playing guitar. I was still, trying to become like a better drummer, and then at the same time, all three of us were trying to kind of create a sound.
Cool. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Edward Samuelson. Hi, guys. I don't know if you saw my video, but I'm a big Stooges fan, my favorite band of all time. And you guys are up there, though, don't get me wrong. I want to thank you guys for your part in bringing them back together. I'd like to talk to you about your relationship with Ron Asheton. And, I know, Lou, you played with Ron, and Jay. Didn't you guys play a couple of gigs together with Ron?
I didn't. Jay had a lot to do with that. I didn't personally. I came back into the band almost in a way because of Jay's involvement with Ron. Like I went to see a mutual friend of ours was doing sound for Jay when he was doing the Ashton, Mascus, Ashton, whatever they were doing. And I got to talk, and I talked to Jay for the first time, really talked to him, and met his wife. And I talked to Ron Asheton that night too, and that was in a certain way like a step towards us coming together again as a band. But my dad worked with Iggy Pop's mom in the early '70s because I lived in Michigan, so that's it's my only connection. She worked in Jackson, Michigan with my father, so I knew about Iggy Pop when I was really little.
Yeah, I love this. Jay, if you have any thoughts about it? I'm just so happy that you brought them back together and Ron got his due. He played a very big part in that. Can you talk about how you feel about that?
Yeah, Ron's one of my big guitar idols, so it's kind of, I guess the first thing, Mike Watt got really sick and couldn't play bass, and then he came out of it and wanted to play some shows, and he asked me if I wanted to play Stooges songs. You know, he just wanted to start playing again, and so then we got Murph and played a few shows doing Stooges songs, and then I got Watt to play in my band, and then we'd still do a couple Stooges songs, and then we went to Ann Arbor, and you know, Watt had played with Ron already, and I asked Watt if he thought Ron would want to come down and play, and then he did, and it was pretty cool. So we invited him more shows, and then he played a lot for a while, and then we ended up having a band of just Stooges, and then got Scott Asheton, and then we were playing some festivals and some shows, and then Iggy had heard about it, and heard people liked it better than his shows and stuff, so he got kind of jealous and then wanted to get those guys back.
What was the comment somebody told me they heard? Iggy was like, yeah, I heard that Maskus guy's like creaming all over my songs, like I gotta get in there or something. And he was all like
Hey guys, I'm Nate. How you doing? First off, I want to thank you guys for allowing us fans to be a part of your album and all this event here this evening. So I guess my question is, being many years after recording this album, and now you're back playing it again, how do you guys feel up there playing it? Is it any different than when you first did it the first time? Do you get the same feelings, or is it something totally different, being older, playing this music, looking back on some of this stuff?
For me, it's just totally different. It's not the same. I mean, I'm just a better and kind of different drummer, and I enjoy it a lot more. It just feels better, and different.
Yeah, we've never played a lot of the songs, so it's interesting just to learn them and play them.
Yeah.
To me, I guess, I was sort of thinking about this while we were doing sound check, is that like those riffs and that on that record make me feel like I'm a kid, like bombing down a hill on a bike. There's something about them, like they just really make me feel. All the Dinosaur songs are like that for me, because it was a big part of my life for between the ages of 17 and 21, and then it ceased to become. Then it was just like it went away from my life until I was 39 years old. So going back to it always just makes me feel really just young and kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's no validation there, for me back then. It was all struggle. And, I love the music. I've always loved the music, but personally, it was always kind of struggle. So coming back to it without that, it's just, it's real nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Cool.
And there's something kind of gratifying for me, like, to have songs that you've played for so long, and then especially to come back, and there's just like the longevity. It's kind of like this craft that you've been doing for a long time, and it's like finally the payoff, because now you know it, and you're just kind of living it and in it. So it's it's a nice feeling.
To be conscious while it's happening.
Yeah.
It's really,
yeah.
To be is just so much more of a textured experience.